So yeah, hello everyone to the AW AR Cloud Challenge, first workshop here from Hololight, where we talk about streaming AR VR applications with our Iser technology. We're happy to be part of the challenge, and that's first of all myself, Luis Bollinger, co-founder and CMO at Hololight, and my colleague Philipp Landgraf, who is our head of technology. And yeah, we'll quickly guide you through the next 2 hours. First of all, I'd like to introduce our company a little bit for those of you who do not know what Hololight does. We are in the AR VR industry since more than 6 years now, founded in 2015. Are headquartered in Munich, Germany, and in Innsbruck, Austria, but we're working globally with all kinds of customers and partners. We are around about 50 people at the moment. And as you can see down on this page, we work with a lot of companies from the enterprise sector, automotive industry, mechanical engineering, defense industry, with telcos and all kinds of other companies. And yeah, we are basically experts for the enterprise sector and focus on that streaming topic. And yes, first of all, I'd like to show you a video in which you can basically see a demo application that we created. And this app should basically show you that there are things possible that you might not have thought that they would be possible. The first example here shows a 3D model of the International Space Station, which is a 3D model with more than 50 million polygons. That is 50 times more than what is actually possible to visualize on a regular HoloLens 2 device. And this video is recorded on a HoloLens 2. So what we basically want to show you now is that with performance, and if you have enough performance, you are really able to visualize 3D content in high quality with a high level of detail. And as you can see here, all kinds of different 3D content. Here it's an engine of a car, and this engine has, in this case, 5 or 6 million polygons. It has a lot of individual parts, so it takes a lot of rendering performance to visualize such a 3D model fluently and with a nice experience in AR. And the last example I personally like also a lot, will just show up in a second, is this car here. And if you look here on the surface of the car, you can basically see that there are reflections. If you look on the glass, you can see that the light is breaking. And what I like a lot about when I see experiences in AR VR is basically experiences that show me some realism. Because especially in AR, it's about getting additional content, and the more realistic it looks, the more engaging an experience can be. And basically what drives us at Hololight is the question, or actually we realized that digitization or the digital transformation as a whole is driven by XR. And we work with a lot of companies that basically work with these content here, with BIM data, so building information modeling data, so entire buildings with a lot of information inside, 3D CAD data from cars to machines to airplanes, point clouds, so 3D scans, which are very detailed and can become more and more common also. But it's also about realistic game assets. And when you want to visualize this content, which is currently in 2D available on 2D screens, or in 3D available on 2D screens, we asked ourselves, how can we visualize this huge amount of data on a mobile XR device, which has limited performance? And usually this is not possible. You cannot visualize an entire 3D CAD or a huge and complex 3D CAD model on an Oculus Quest 2 or on a mobile device like a HoloLens 2. Usually engineers, they have really powerful workstations to render 3D models. And this is a question that we wanted to answer. And basically the answer is XR streaming. And it also explains why XR streaming is relevant as a topic in the AR VR community. First of all, it's really that performance problem. You don't have much performance on a mobile device. and in the future you will not get so much more performance. But it's also other topics. It's about the publishing and the scaling of an AR/VR application. Nowadays, the App Store management, for example, is quite annoying. It takes some time until an update went through the process of the Google Play Store, of the Apple Store, or the Microsoft App Store. You basically have to update all these different versions for each individual platform. The same with the XR device itself. So all kinds of XR devices have their own their own special requirements, their own infrastructure, their own platforms they work with. And what's definitely a challenge for us as developers, but I can imagine for also other developers out there on the market, is to support several devices. Because in the end, it should be up to the user which device he or she wants to use to consume an AR/VR application. And the more options we give as developers, the better, and the bigger the market also for us. And the last point is data security. And this is a big issue we realized when working with especially enterprises. Usually they work with confidential data or with user data, and they don't want to have this local data or the data on local devices. It has to be protected in a good way. Because, for example, a car manufacturer designing a new car doesn't want to share it with the whole world until it's really public. So data security is a huge topic when it comes to AR/VR. And the solution that we are presenting and basically introducing today is Iser. It stands for Interactive Streaming for Augmented Reality. And it basically is a software development kit which you can integrate into AR/VR applications. And make them a streaming application. So stream them from an external resource. And this gives you basically more performance. You could say unlimited performance if you want to say so. And I want to show you another video before I also then hand over to Philip. Here we have basically a car, and the bigger picture shows basically the car that you saw before with realistic surfaces, and the car down there in the corner is a regular 3D model that you can visualize on a mobile device.
The fun thing there is it's actually the same model. What we did there is we had the Quest, we get a model on the both have to run on the Hololens, and one time we have to get it running on the Hololens just on the Hololens, that's the small picture down there, and the other one can run over streaming. And as you see, like it's still the same model, like there is the same amount of work, it's even less amount of work to get the bigger picture than the lower one, we come to that later. But you get much higher quality and a much better application in the end. That's what we found out there, and that's what the video says. And I think it's quite fascinating. It's the same amount, it's exactly the same model. And for me, when I saw it the first time, what was really fascinating is, like, we all know, everybody who worked with HoloLens 2 knows about some issues with the display. But these issues are not that bad if you have this high quality content. Since you're first stunned with the visuals, you don't have these just flat surfaces with one color where you really see this. You're just immersed. That was really cool.
Yes, so a realistic car versus a toy, it's definitely a difference to see. And the second example that we see, and after this video part, also shows the capabilities in engineering. So it's the engine, and one of the biggest problems that customers in the engineering sector had in the past was they had to really prepare the data and reduce polygons, and this was horrible. And the third example is a point cloud that is visualized here on a HoloLens 2. And this point cloud has 1 billion points. And it also included a 3D model, a 3D CAD model with more than 5 million polygons. So this is really huge amounts of data that are streamed to a device which has limited performance. And I think is a great example of what's possible to visualize with XR streaming. And before we go deeper into how it works and how you can set up something like this, I quickly summarize the benefits that you will get when using this technology. So first of all, it's unlimited performance. That's maybe a little bit marketing slogan, but in the end, the performance is depending on the external computing power that you have available. And this is usually much more than what you have on your XR device.
I mean, it is, and theoretically it is unlimited. It's limited by what you can afford to have as a server computer.
And then you can make your app available on several platforms. So not just one XR device, but also a second one or a third one. So it opens up new markets. You will have a more secure solution as the entire application is stored on a secure server or computer and only streamed to the XR device. So the data is not leaving the server. It stays on the server, and that makes the whole solution more secure. And the management of the application is centralized, so you do not have to go to several app stores all the time. You have one single point of an application, and this application is streamed from one server to several XR devices. And this also is a huge benefit. And we will learn a bit more about it. Before that, I have two more examples that basically should motivate you. This one is an example of a developer who used our Isa SDK and integrated it into a really cool application. This is actually a town that has, or an ancient building in Syria that has been destroyed from a bomb attack, I think 2 or 3 years ago, and it doesn't exist anymore. And the data is usually very complex and difficult to visualize. And by streaming this application, the developer was able to visualize basically this building in real size. And the overall idea of the application is to visualize it in the original place and basically show the people the cultural heritage that that otherwise would not be possible to see anymore.
I think that's also a nice example what we also understand for AR Cloud, because in the end what we have there, as soon as you're at the location, it's persistent location-based content. Because I mean, maybe you can prepare one of the models. It's a bit more than just one thing. But you can't prepare all of the models, and especially can't load all of them at the device at the same time. But also you can't just go somewhere, you want to look at it and then wait for downloading the actual model. So this is where Iser comes in. What you can do is location-based, like I'm there, I want to look at it. I mean, the app on the server can have a huge amount of data. That's fine. You can have every hard drive you want, right? You're not limited to what your device can have. Also, you can connect with whatever you have. For example, if somebody wants to have a Hololens, you can connect with Hololens. If you connect with Android, connect with Android. And that's also why we see streaming come into this AR Cloud stuff. Because in general, AR Cloud, location-based, persistent content, yeah, you can do it. You can do it without streaming. But if you think about the scalability and about the whole thing later, where should the data come from? Because it's not like I want to have an app for every square meter I go. I just want to, and that's streaming is the solution. I just stream it, and there the huge amount of data can live in the cloud. And wherever I am, I get the right data and I get the right model shown. That is fine. On a local device, you just get into a lot of issues. And then, I mean, also the visuals. The idea here is really heritage. So we want to preserve what's there, because, for example, there can be a bombing, there can be an earthquake, and a lot of things which are really, really, world heritage can be destroyed. But already there are projects to digitalize them, and you can go there even after it's destroyed. You can see how it was. I mean, you can say, yeah, you can reconstruct it, but somehow you then destroy it, because you don't want to have the reconstructed one, right? And even if there is still a bit one, you don't want to get rid of that to reconstruct it. So there's always a fight. And with AR, you can go through the time, you can see it. And there you need streaming, because you don't want to see it like a model prepared for mobiles where you see a few bright colors and it looks like plastic. You want to see how it was, right? And that's where streaming comes in for us, and there is a great connection.
Yeah, and I think a second example that basically proves how streaming looks in a real-world use case also is this example that we are showing here from Bmw in Munich, where they use basically an engineering application to visualize their free CAD models and merge them with real-world components like this car chassis here. So what they do is, for example, they take an engine or they take any other part of the car as a virtual prototype and merge it with the real chassis to check assembly processes, to check designs. They are able to evaluate concepts up to 12 months earlier now with the solution. And here it's really about that merge, having content available here. It's about also a multi-user use case where they collaborate with colleagues in the same place, but also in other locations. And it's a proof that basically streaming can be used in a real-world use case on a daily basis. So it's ready to be used, and this is the second example that shows the potential of the.
Like I will quickly jump in there also to the BMW use case, because you could say like, yeah, but I can do a POC of that without streaming. Sort of right. If you prepared it 3D data and you have a 3D artist making it less polygons, converting it from CAD to something nice to show, like a mesh data, and then you can get it somehow running, but that's not what you want to have as a user flow. So what we are having here is it really goes directly from your CAD software in this software, and you can like 5 minutes later try it out. It's streamed from the same computer where you develop your CAD stuff on, and then you can just fit it in. So that was the thing. Even in our first prototype, we didn't use streaming. In our first prototype, we just had an engine, we prepared it, we didn't have streaming by then. It took us, I think, a month, especially from the 3D artist, to get it running on the HoloLens, and then it looked okay. But I mean, it's not like you want to do it for one object. You want to do it for the newest one you just developed 10 minutes ago. And that's where the streaming part comes in.
Yes. So yeah, Philip, at this point, I'd like to hand over to you, and maybe you can tackle the AR cloud streaming topic a bit. You already did it.
Yeah, I already did it.
And then we'll jump more into the technical part.
So, I mean, in the end, the creativity goes to you. Our main focus is industrial right now. And of course, the main focus of the companies right now is the streaming technology, I would say. So we developed the streaming from the industrial space, but it's now a library available to all developers. And as I already mentioned, I think AR Cloud needs streaming because the huge amount of data, like if you have your AR Cloud, you want to have content based on where you are. You want to have persistent content. So you already have service involved. And you don't want to limit people, right? I mean, if I want to have my, I don't know, 1 million point cloud, put it there, I want to do that. Or if I want to put like 10 objects in the room, I want to do that. Like if you build it locally, it looks nice. You can put an object, he sees it too. It can be saved, cool. But as soon as like 5 people do that and you have 10 objects, then the performance is gone. And this is what we want to do there. And also where we think is, if you think about it globally, like AR Cloud, I think is supposed to become something global. And if you think about that, their streaming fits in great because you connect to the AR Cloud. And as soon as you're connected, you get the streamed content of where you are, whatever you want. You can still choose your apps, but you're not switching for every location to another app or whatever. And you have this high quality. And then the last thing is you have this quality on every device. Like you don't need to care what your users use as a phone. It needs to be AR Core compatible, for example, and it needs to have a good internet connection. But that's it. You don't need to care if their processor is slower, and also which one they use. You develop one app. And also it's really cool about your libraries. That is also a huge advantage. You develop an app for x86-64, so for a server. Every library running there, since the whole app is running there, works. You don't need to find a library which works on iPhone, Android, HoloLens, and Oculus, for example, if you want to support these. You can just use random library working on a server. And I think that's an important concept, and that's where we see the thing, and we are really, really interested what you will come up with.
Yes. Okay, then let's go into the tech and integration part. I think at this point we don't need a break,
yeah,
although
I think so too.
We planned it optionally, but
yeah, you rushed through. So for the integration part, let's start with the basics about Iser. Iser, as we already got mentioned, is a streaming library. And it's a library. You can use it how you want to how you would use any library. It's not a service. We don't force you on any cloud. We don't force you to use anything else from us or whatever. You just build in this library. And if you have, for example, an existing application for the HoloLens, it takes you roughly an hour, build in this library, and it's a streamed application. And here is also a really important part about our concept is we stream the whole application. This has several reasons. First, You only need to develop one app for all the devices. You don't need to build an app, integrate the streaming, and then rebuild it for every device supported or anything like that. And also, as mentioned, the backend, the libraries. We want you to be able to use all libraries. And it's not only about visuals. So a lot of people, when thinking about streaming, think about nice, huge objects. But we will see later, it's not only about that. It can also be just calculation heavy. For example, we have real-time simulations. I mean, the visuals are not that heavy, but the real-time simulation in the backend. And to enable everything like this, we stream just the whole app. You have one server Unity app. You can think of it a bit as, I would say, a video or a website. You have your client on your target device and you connect to it. And as soon as you connect it, it doesn't matter which target device you have, you're connected to the app and the app works on the server completely. And yeah, the client, it's one client. If you have you want to use 10 Iser apps, you still have one Iser client on your phone, which I think is pretty cool. And also the immediately works cross-platform part. We had in the code jam, that was really cool. A lot of people don't own HoloLenses, but also for the use case with the Syrian heritage we showed you, it is of course much cooler in a HoloLens than on an Android phone. It's just better. And they developed everything on Android phones because they don't own a HoloLens. And then they sent the binaries to us and we connected a HoloLens or Oculus Quest 2 and we were able to experience this in VR or AR, which was quite cool. Or I'm not allowed to mean Android is also AR, but you know what I mean. The second thing is Iser is provided as a Unity plugin. So in general, we can support other platforms. This will come up. We already had customers integrating Iser with DirectX directly. But what we also provide is a Unity plugin. And this Unity plugin is really easy to set up and really easy to import into existing projects, especially HoloLens ones. And a last word about what you need. What are our requirements? So we require you to have a minimum 20 Mbit network connection. If you want to develop on an Oculus, I would suggest 40. On a HoloLens, you're completely fine with 20. You need a dedicated graphic card, namely a GeForce 10, 20, or 30 series or similar. It should work on a bit lower performance cards. But yeah, this is what we suggest you have. And what is also quite good working are the Tesla T4s, usually used on AWS and Azure clouds, or the newer Quattro graphic cards. But please don't try to develop with a 20-year-old graphic card. And right now, we also require you to use MRTK for your app development. I can already teaser this will change roundabout in November, but for now, you still have to stick with MRTK as a, let's say, XR library, because yeah, we initially developed for HoloLens too. Yeah, that's it about the basics. So here is, again, how does Iser work? Visualized, Iser is a Unity plugin we built into your server software. I mean, before it was your normal app, but now it's your server. This is running wherever you want it to run. That's also quite interesting. Out of data security, and I mean, I think also because we are a German-based company, and in Germany, everybody's crazy about data security. You can operate Iser in a complete darknet without any cloud, without even internet access, as long as you have any way to connect. So to have an IP connection between your client device and your server. We don't care about anything else. You don't need to send your data up. You don't need to send your app up. Have your local computer in a darknet with your client device. It will work. How does it work? In the end, the principle is quite simple. The XR device sends everything it knows about sensor data, about where you are, to your server. Where you are, I mean spatial location, not any shady GPS locations or anything. But it sends everything to the server required. And the server then executes the application. After it's rendered, it sends the rendered image back to the device. Of course, you can say there is latency involved. Yes, there is latency involved. We also can't wizard that away. But what we can do, we have a lot of clever algorithms. You won't feel the latency. Like if you have, for example, a steady object, in the case of the CAD engineering, the app is still perfectly usable if the server is running in US East and I am sitting in Germany. So that's still fine, and that's a few thousand miles. If you want to have something moving all the time, I would suggest something closer, but cloud servers are still completely fine because we have a lot of clever technologies calculating out that latency so your image is stable and you won't get motion sick. So yeah, and I think it's gone.
And I think with the next slide, we basically switch to a live demo. But Philip, before we do that, we should give the chance to ask some questions.
Sure.
So if you have questions until here, then please use the chat function.
Yeah, just one quick word what the live demo will be, maybe, because some questions make more sense after it. So ask all your questions about Iser you have, so in a way of the concept wise or so. What a live demo will be, I will live integrate it with you in a Unity application and show you how it looks like, how fast it is, how it works. And yeah, then we will connect to it and have our first Iser app ready. That's what we do in the live demo.
Okay, yeah. So,
yeah,
please repeat it for everyone.
The question is, looks cool, but what about the latency? I just tried to explain that a bit. So yes, you have latency, always. It's a network connection. But we have a lot of clever algorithms to calculate it away. So you still have, of course, input latency. And I wouldn't play a competitive ego shooter on it. But for usual customer applications or for usual industrial applications, it's completely fine. And especially like for the hand input on the HoloLens, if you have a local server or a cloud server in your region, you don't even feel the difference because the hand tracking is slower than the latency of the streaming. And I mean, after the whole thing, there is a way to just try it out. We will give, so you can get it for free. It's a sort of full version, which doesn't allow you to publish the app in the end. I will talk about it later and you can just try it out. And I would just suggest that.
Yes, and we have a lot of experience also with collaboration use cases, and these work pretty good with the streaming. So as Philip said, we have users connecting to a cloud instance in the US, and we have users that are connecting here in Germany to Frankfurt cloud, and they are both collaborating together, and latency is not a problem. Yeah, for it really, in the end, it depends on the use case. If you have like highly critical use cases where really latency plays an extremely high role, then you would have to investigate this a little bit further. But we are working with a lot of customers at the moment, and latency was not a problem. So that was never a problem. Same with bandwidth, that was also always enough to have a good experience. And as Philip said, a 20 Mbit connection and you're on. Okay, then Philip, please share your screen.
Yeah, now it gets interesting because live, a lot of stuff can go wrong. Yep, I steal your screen and I share my screen. Let's try it. Cool. So let's get that out of the way, the test. So let's start. So here we have an empty Unity screen. Just I wanted to give you the model you already know. This is the Audi model we had there, to have something more fancy than a cube. But otherwise, the only thing I did by now was creating a new Unity project, nothing else. So let's start. The first thing we need to do is we need to import the MRTK. I already downloaded that, hopefully, and that takes a while now. As said, we do it live. MRTK, for the people maybe not knowing it, it's a Microsoft library, and the idea is to have a cross-platform library for interacting with XR content. It's mainly done for the HoloLens, to be honest. It supports also the Oculus Quest 2 and Android devices. And yeah, since we come from the HoloLens right now, we use it. From end of the year, like around about November, you will be also able to just use Steam VR, for example, and beginning next year, even AR Foundation. But yeah, we are expanding to the other XR libraries. And as soon as this is done, which takes...
Philip, we have a question.
Yeah,
you
sure.
answered it. Is the Isa SDK also compatible with Android platform?
Yes. So Android is right now supported. iOS will come later this year, but Android is right now supported. So the platform will again be x86-64 for your app because it's running on the server, but you can then connect with an Android phone, which we will actually also do here.
Okay, so thanks, Sanjit, for the questions.
Participants cannot see my screen.
Yes, and Philip, another question about the MRTK as a requirement.
Yeah.
Can you just, I need to see. Is it a requirement?
Right now, yes. The requirement will be away in roughly 2 months, 3 months. So around about November, this won't be a requirement anymore. But until we release the next version of Iser, it is a requirement.
Yes. Okay. So Philip, maybe you can spoil a little bit, how long does the entire integration process of the Isa SDK take?
So when I did it in our future app, Ares, it took me around about half an hour. So it mainly depends on Unity loading screens. So now MRTK is in there, and now we can get actual Iser in there. I need to put it down because I don't see anything because of the Zoom stuff. We use the Unity package manager. And as soon as that is loaded up, you can press on this little plus here. So it says loading packages. And as soon as this is done, we can plus add package from this. And here I have the Iser SDK trial. That's the one you can just freely download. The only limitation is you need to re-import this package every month. So every month we release it a new version of the trial, and the older version will just crash. This makes sure that you cannot like publish apps for it, but the cool thing is you can develop everything. It's completely free. Of course, if you want to have support for development and are doing a serious product, contact us. We have packages for that, and also then you get much more support and it's better. But for a first tryout, you can just get it and try it out for free.
Yes, and for the AR Cloud Challenge, you'll definitely get access to the Isa SDK, and we'll help you with everything around it. So don't worry. For the challenge, we will help. Yeah, don't worry. Don't worry.
In general, just ask us if you have questions or write us an email. We are in general happy to help because we want to enable all people using streaming.
We'll share our contact details in the end.
Yep. So in this GitHub repo, what we have there is we have the clients, which is the clients you can install on the devices, but usually you can also get them from the app stores of this device. Some documentation. Hello Isa is a sample project. You need to re-import the Isa package, but otherwise you can start from there. Licenses, it's just like general licenses of underlying products we also use, and packages. In packages, you have the actual Isa. Right now it's 2. You always need the COM Hololight Iser package. You never get around this. You always will need this. The .oculus package you only need additionally, not instead, additionally, if you use the Oculus. Right now, I don't plan to use the Oculus, so I just use this one. And it will import. And as soon as it's imported, we will see an error coming up in the newest Unity versions. That's in the console. You have a huge amount of a bit confusing with the team stuff of errors in Unity which say it does not exist in a certain namespace. I don't know why this happens. This is sort of a breaking change in Unity sub versions. So it doesn't happen. I'm using right now Unity 2019.4.29, and it didn't happen in 2019.4.19. So I don't know why they changed it. But the issue is this version control package. So let's just remove that one. We don't need it. I don't even know what it does. Let's remove that one, and the error should be gone. So gone. And now we don't have any errors anymore. Yeah, now we have Iser in there. Now we go to the build settings. As an architecture, we want to have x86-64 standalone. That's a requirement. You need to go over to that one. And then we have to go to the player settings. In the player settings, we have XR plugin management. And here we need to want to have initialize XR on startup, and we want to initialize Iser. Yeah, that's the integration. We will now show it. I hope I didn't forget anything. But you also have some settings in Iser. I want to show that because a little bit more comes up in settings here. Right now, it's only these. Please don't change the script and don't change the signaling implementation. The signaling implementation is something really advanced. What you can do there is you can build your own way of building up a connection. So for example, right now we connect over IP. If you change this implementation also on the client, there, by the way, you need to be in touch with us. That's not possible with the trial version. Also not with the easy packages on the full version, but you're in general have the possibility to change the connection process. Where you use that is, for example, for a full cloud integration or for something where you're in a company and it should first contact a server and then you go over this orchestration server and it gives you an instance, stuff like that you can build in there. Right now for a simple IP connection, that's completely fine. And it's, so I say simple IP connection is already a quite good one. It works over cloud networks, it works over 5G networks, it works in industrial environments and over NAT gateways. So as long as you have a server with a static IP or a publicly visible IP, you're fine. And yeah, that was the integration. And now I hope I didn't kill anything, and let's try. I'm always nervous in this part. So now, if you did everything right in the first place, your screen will turn black. You won't see anything because it won't render until it knows what to render, which your client will say. Now, I use my phone here. What you see in the phone, I just can quickly show camera. Like, wow, this is a bit bright. Does this work? Now, you see the Iser client. I type in my IP. That's my local IP in my LAN. And now I press connect. And yeah, now you see here signaling connected. And you see on the computer what I see in my phone. So if I now move around, yep, here. Why you see it a bit weird, we come later to it. But if I move around, my camera move around, I can go around the Audi and everything. Wait, no, I forgot something. I can't go around the Audi. Told you, I forget something. We need to set up MRTK because it controls our XR camera, and that's why we need it, by the way. To set up MRTK, we press here Iser and press configure MRTK. It will do everything in the scene for you. That's it. That was the step I forgot. And now let's try it again. I connect again. And now you see, if I move my phone, you see in the computer screen, it actually moves the car here. But we still have an issue, which I come later to it in detail, but and can't cover the camera because then air quality is tracking. Where's car? Where are you? Here. Can you put in my phone? So you see the car twice. And that's because we need to set it to use an Android phone. And that I also want to show you. We go in that a bit more in detail later. But what we in general need to do is we need to change the config. There is a config file for Iser. And there is two, this is twice in the project. One in streaming asset. Ignore that. This will be overwritten as soon as you press play. Don't do anything here. You go in the package, in the actual Iser extra plugin package, runtime. By the way, don't worry, the path is in the documentation. We go in runtime, resources, and here is the actual remoting config. Let's open this. And we have a lot of stuff here. Don't change this stuff on top. For ICE servers, this is something I will go a bit more in detail later. We can help you in case you need to connect over really cellular connections or some difficult industrial connections or a German certain internet provider. I don't know why. In no other country in this world, it's an issue, but in Germany, there is a certain router you can have where it doesn't connect if you want to use STAN servers. DNSSD name, leave that empty, and now the important stuff, rendering config. Here you can set the rendering resolution. Be careful. You only use a rendering resolution which can be decoded by the decoder, hardware decoder of your device. How are you supposed to know? We can tell you the best one we think is the best one. If you want to try different ones, feel welcome. Look in the internet which ones are supported on your certain device. But yeah, it's sometimes, or not even only sometimes, the native resolution of a device is not supported from the decoder. Be careful with that. For standard, we have the settings for HoloLens. So this is the perfect settings for HoloLens too. This is actually the setting of a HoloLens 2 per eye, and number of views means how many eyes do you have. For a smart glass, this is 2. For an Android device or on tablet, this is 1. That's why I saw the whole card twice. If I go down to 1 and save this, and then press play again, and then I connect again. So just give me a second to connect, actually. Now everything is fine. The car is here, floating, stable in the room. I can go in there, I can go there. It's really like it would be there. It's an AR experience. Just the car is 1-to-1 scale. That's why it's 10 meters away, and I don't go there right now. But yeah. So we got a question that's interesting.
Yeah.
How to do a public. So for phones, it's quite easy. For phones, I would suggest you just go with full HD. That's good enough for most of them. But that's a good question. That's a feature which will come up in not the next release, but beginning of next year. The clients will tell the server which resolution they want. So I can already say this comes up. Right now, you have to live with the config. The cool thing with the config still is, at least the thing is, after compiling, you can still change the config. So you don't need to recompile your app. Yeah. But yeah, that's how we do it right now. If you want to do an end consumer app, what we did there is we built a launcher which writes the right values in the config. So it asks you, hey, do you want to connect with a HoloLens or an Oculus or an Android phone? And then you click, and then it changes the config. Yeah. That's how we solved it.
So Philip, due to the network connection, I think it's necessary that you repeat the resolution. So full HD for Android devices.
Yes. So in general, in the following slides, we give you our suggestion for every device. The most critical device is the Oculus Quest 2, because if there you set a wrong resolution, it won't do anything. All other devices just look weird. I mean, not even weird. So as you saw, I used my phone now with a HoloLens resolution. It looked perfectly fine. So the viewport and everything set it is fine again. It's not distorted or anything. It's just really the quality. Think of the resolution there as a quality, not as a distortion. I need to get right thing, because a lot of like this phone has some really stupid resolutions. If you go for full HD, it won't be distorted or anything. Yeah, that is, I think, an important point to mention. And yeah, but this was all Iser integration. We built now a full-featured Iser app. What I would like to show you too, because let's do everything live and then go through the devices again. Oculus. If you wanna do Oculus, you need to add also the Oculus package additionally. And then you have here both. Haven't tested that out before, so let's hope. And let's get it in there. And looks good because this only comes up if there are no errors. And then I need to adjust something more. For the Oculus, you need to go to Mixed Reality Toolkit. And here you have Iser Isa Sdk configuration profile. And you change it to Oculus one. Then there is one last thing. You won't see the controllers as controller models. If you want to do that, you need to go to Input. I don't know if that is. Yeah, you see it. I don't see it. Let me see controllers. And down here in controller definitions, you can go in there and you need to put in override models there. For that, you have the extra meshes. We are on the way. We want to provide you with them from, if you just download the Iser. We don't do it yet because we are a bit afraid just because of copyright. That's the reason they're not included. But we are planning to do that. And don't worry if anything was too fast now. Everything is in the repo. There is documentation below it. Everything I said is also in there. So you don't need to write everything down or memorize everything. And also we are happy to help in case you have any issues. A last thing I wanna talk about issues you can have. We know about it. Let's say known issues, which will be fixed in later versions, but are known issues. First, most of them are related to audio, by the way. First, you have to have any audio device present. That's important. because otherwise Iser will search one, there is none, it will unfortunately crash. Then second, some of the USB headphones give us issues. So especially the Logitech ones, if your app just crashes, please try to unplug any USB audios. And if you need audio device and don't have any, if you're on a cloud instance, you can just right click on this and it will create you one. If you are on a local computer, I can show quickly what I use. And I will also explain why I use this, because my audio card can do it. I use the virtual cable, and Iser will use the device which is set as standard communication device, not the standard device. Quite cool, because Iser will always transmit all audio of your computer. Maybe people were early and heard our nice recoupling we had. That was the reason. You can, in case you don't want to hear anything while you're developing, because in the finished app, I think you want to have audio, but if you don't want to have audio, just install this something like virtual audio cable or anything and make this the standard communication device, so the audio goes into nothing. That's the way you do, and this is the main known issue. So no audio device and certain USB audio devices is, I think, all known issues we have. And also the one with no audio devices is for sure fixed in the next version. Both are fixed in the next version, even. So yeah.
Okay. So
that's all.
Philip, then we jump back to the slides, because there are some additional things that we want to share.
Yeah, and you can steal my screen again. First, any questions?
Yes, questions to here.
Oh, where were I breaking up?
No, we already.
We already did that. So I get them later. Okay, fair.
No, you covered it, I think. Yeah, it was about the resolution thing.
Okay. Any questions about integration? What you can do, what you can't do? Yeah, we will go over the special devices now, but in general, if either any questions.
Okay, we also have a 7-minute video on our YouTube channel. We can also share that in Discord afterwards. That is a quick summary, excluding the waiting time, which gives you a nice and short overview about how to set things up.
Including waiting time, it took us like 10 minutes to set up an Iser app. I think that's pretty good for streaming.
Yes, it's quite fast.
Especially if you try it with some other solutions out there where you need a week.
Yeah. Okay, then let's move on.
So about this config, let's go over this again. I showed you where it is. I showed you what you can do with it. But recapping again, resolution per default, it's set it to Hololens. The resolution affects performance and bandwidth. Bandwidth somehow, but especially performance. So yeah, that is quite important. If you have performance issues on your computer, maybe try to lower the resolution, especially for development. It can be useful. I don't know if everybody has, for example, a 3080 for development. I don't think so. You can go lower on the resolution on some VR devices, because especially these are quite hungry. I mean, 4K is not easy to render, especially on 2 eyes. And yeah, also you will sometimes have less latency with lower resolutions. Sometimes you can just live with it. Depends on the use case, but here you can set it. Number of views is really the number of like eyes, cameras you have. So every smart glass, which gives you a real 3D view, is 2. And all the we call it monocular, like tablets, iPhones, which has passed through the camera, their number of views is 1. Harder to explain than to understand, to be honest, but I think you get it. Turn servers. This is the last thing I talked about that. This goes into where it says iServers. Usually we try to use STUN. STUN is a network traversal technology. You don't need to get deep into that. It's mainly to communicate over certain firewalls. So everybody in his home network, for example, a computer has no public IP, and you still need to communicate somehow. And for having this low latency we achieve, we want to have something like a peer-to-peer connection. STUN is a technology to achieve that, but some networks block it. And Also, some just in general, at least in Germany, cellular networks block it. So if you have like a phone or 5G connection, they block it. For that, you need turn servers. For the project here, we can help you out with turn servers. We have some set it up because we also need them. But if you have, for example, a real app where traffic goes over, you need to set up your own turn servers. But it's not something difficult. And then you put them in there and you will be fine. And yeah, but always use stun if possible. Easier, you don't need to set up servers, and a bit faster from latency because a turn server in the end acts like a relay server. So if you need a turn server, have it close to your server location. For example, what we do in all server centers, we provide our cloud solutions. We have turn servers. That the way it's short. Okay. And yeah, so let's go over the multi-platform approach. We already talked about this. You build an Isa app, you build it once. You don't need to care too much about platforms. I mean, of course, you need to care a bit. And an Android tablet is just the UI has to be different than on a HoloLens. That we can't visually do for you. But in general, you compile your app and it doesn't matter what you use, you can connect. And believe me, that's quite nice because, I mean, for us, for example, in our company, HoloLenses are a bit limited because we have a lot of people working with them and it's not like you can just buy 100 of these.
Well, you can.
Yeah, you can also do something else with the money, but yeah, you can in general. But everybody has an Android phone. So for what I really like to do is, for example, test my applications to first smoke tests with Android devices. That's quite cool. And I don't need to recompile. I can just have them. And the only thing you need to change is the config. And for example, then you can also ask or read in the config, hey, what is my number of views, and adjust your UI accordingly. The devices we right now support is, as mentioned, HoloLens 2, Android Quest 2. What will come up still this year is iOS and Unreal Light. And also we are working on an additional VR device. I can't say yet, but you can expect within the first quarter of next year to get an additional VR device. It will be one of the larger competitors to Oculus Quest 2 without selling your soul to a huge company.
Yeah. So for the AR Cloud Challenge, it's the 3 devices you can see here. But we definitely want to show you also that there are more devices being supported afterwards. So whatever you create in the next weeks and months, can become an even stronger solution afterwards. Okay. Then Philip, let's go on.
Let's go on. First device, HoloLens 2. That's the device we actually started. We tried it, you don't feel it too much. You still feel it a bit because of the MRTK dependency we will get rid of. But yeah, HoloLens is therefore also the, I would say, best supported device. Oculus is on the same level, but HoloLens is very started. The client, you can either sideload the version from our GitHub or you can just download it from the Microsoft Store. It's called Iser Client. The features we support is full articulated hand tracking, which is really nice, especially since it works the same way as it works if you build your app locally. And this is quite unique in streaming experiences. A lot of people have issues with using the hand, and that is quite cool. You can, for example, the engine you saw, you can just go there, grab a screw with your hand, look at it, put it somewhere. That's quite nice. And for overlaying the content, you can use QR markers. So the QR marker API you are used from the HoloLens, you can completely use with Iser. And I think that's the most important part.
Okay, and we have a short video.
For every device, we will show you now a short video. And here you see, you can also have fun about Iser and not only creating sterile business stuff. Here, I had a bit of fun. I created a dragon. And that was really cool. I mean, in general, if you see it on a 2D display, it's, fine, okay, I know it. It's graphics out of a 5-year computer game. But on a HoloLens, this is stunning because on a HoloLens, you usually have more the graphics like 10, 20 years ago. And it looks really good. You have the full lightning effect. You have real textures. The light reflects on the dragon itself. You have animations in there where you also see the latency is fine. And like you have a dragon standing in your room. I think that's hard to beat.
Yes. Okay, next one.
Oculus Quest 2. Oculus Quest 2 is really cool because I think it provides, let's say, my opinion, it provides the best VR experience right now available. even though it has a bit business issues because of the you need Facebook accounts. Oculus Quest 2, we have full controller support and we have the support for the full resolution. If you develop with the Oculus Quest 2, you can develop with the trial, but if you want to get serious with your project, I would advise you to contact us. I will give you the possibility to go higher with bandwidth. Because right now, Iser, the public version, limits itself at 20 Mbit. We can give you a version which limits at 50, just to have a bit, and it's not even about quality, it's a bit about latency. You get a bit better latency with the Quest 2, but first try it out, develop your app, and let's do that later. It's just a one-time copy override, and it's done. You don't need to change anything in your app. You can set the configuration for 2 eyes, and the resolution you want to use is 1920 times 1920. And that's not the native resolution. The resolution is always per eye, and that's not the native one. And that's because of the decoder. It's a bit higher than the actual native resolution because the decoder doesn't support the native resolution. If you want to say in the beginning, hey, I want to save bandwidth, I don't have that much of a powerful PC because I don't know, but that resolution already stresses out my 2080 here. So you can halve the resolution. That's fine. I think even 1080 by 1080 works, but just cut it in half. That will work out. So yeah, try it out. The client, you can either also sideload from GitHub or from AppLab. To get the AppLab link, you can go to our website, hololight.com. Let me just, should I share it quickly? Yeah, I think it makes sense. I see.
Okay, go share.
So you go to our, do you see that? Okay, cool. You go to our website, you go to Customer Center, downloads. I know mine is German, I don't know how to change that quickly. It's Customer Center in English. And I don't know why it's so slow right now. And here you go to Isa SDK. Here you, by the way, get also the GitHub link if you need it from GitHub, the others, but also the Oculus link. The problem is on the Oculus, you need the actual link. You can't find it by searching the Oculus store because it's on AppLab and not the actual store right now. Don't know when we are able with Oculus to get it in the store. And yeah, this is the way you can install it. I think the most easier way on your Oculus. And then again, it's typing in IP and connect. Yeah,
okay, great.
You can have your screen back.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, then here we have also a video example because so far we just shared some AR videos with you. This will change now, basically.
Yeah, and I think this is really great because I don't know how much you pay on the Oculus, but this is really high graphics on a standalone device. We do not wire to a computer or anything. This is just purely going over wireless LAN. And actually, the first time I got this, and this is a real story, I was like, hey, you do have a nice kitchen, and what is the AR app doing? And then I was like, nah, that's the virtual Oculus app, because I was looking it on the side and was like, okay, cool. So, and you see here, like we are playing with the light, you have a glass table, everything is looking, I would say, photorealistic. And you can move it through it in VR, and you could never get this running on an Oculus Quest natively. So just to be fair, we used a lot of performance there. What you see there is a cloud instance. This uses a T4 NVIDIA graphic cards to render the scene. And even there, it struggles to get 60 FPS. I think we get 50, but still you don't get motion sick. That's quite cool. And you can completely use it and have fun there.
Yes.
That looks amazing.
Yeah, that was a super exciting demo when we did it the first time.
Yeah, really
cool.
Android, yeah. Also, we wanted to show, hey, it works on tablets and phones. Important for Android, you have to use an AR core enabled Android phone because we are working in AR. Iser is about AR streaming. So you will be always in the AR mode. And in the right now version, black will be cut out. So everything you do black, you won't see it. It works like on the HoloLens. If it's black, you won't see it. But otherwise, we support the image tracking library. We support QR code reading and a bad version of QR tracking. Reason I say that is, why do we have it in if I think it's bad? The QR code tracking in Android is purely for being, being on par with the features on the HoloLens, so that you can have your HoloLens app directly on Android. That was the idea. But if you want to really do something, use image tracking, not QR code tracking. And QR codes are really bad image trackers, just as a hint. The client, you can get it from the Play Store or also get it from GitHub. And I would set the config to 1i and a resolution of 1920 times 1080 because all the decoders support this quite easily. And also it's, to be honest, on the small screens, usually full HD is good enough. And yeah, also for Android, we have a video, I think.
Yes, we have.
And here, this is the video I promised you before. Here, it's not about the visuals. Here, it's about the calculations. Like you have this on a small phone. This is calculating the airflow around this car in real time. So it loads a CAD model of the car in the background. It doesn't like scan the car. It loads a CAD model of it. And then it calculates the air flow. So the flow of the air around it in real time. You can go around it, you can look at it, and that needs a lot of calculation power. Actually also was developed during the Code Jam. I think he had this app, and there what he did, he pre-rendered everything on a computer in Unity and pre-calculated it. And in the Code Jam, he did a real-time calculation. That was really, really cool and exciting. But yeah, that is about Android.
Yes. And when we're talking about the Code Jam, we mean a 4-day developer event that we hosted in May. And this means also that these developers were able to integrate Iser into their applications in just a few hours and days, and and empower their solutions. So the barriers to work with the technology are very low, and that's why we can definitely recommend to give it a try. Especially
we had developers never ever touching a HoloLens, giving us perfect HoloLens AR applications within 2 days. Was quite an experience.
Yes. And now we want to talk also about multi-user experiences, and therefore we have a short video example before we go closer into the details.
Because a lot of AR is about collaboration, and I think also important for a cloud topic. I mean, you want not only alone see the content, right? You want to share it. How does sharing multiplayer work within Iser? So first of all, Iser itself does streaming, and it does a one-to-one match from client to server. And that has a lot of reasons, because if you would have two cameras, you would have the same resources to calculate the rendering, because both look from a different angle, you would get into resource constraints. And as soon as it's more global, you want to have your instance close. I mean, if you collaborate from US to Tokyo, what we actually have use cases where we do that, if you would use one rendering instance, one of them would have really bad latency. So both of their own one, it will be between these. But this is what you see here. This is our solution where we do it, and these people are in the same room. They both use Iser, and they see each other and they collaborate. Or they're not in the same room, then you see them as these avatars. They're somewhere completely else, and they collaborate here. And I will explain you concept-wise how this is working out. Even though Iser itself does not have like an out-of-the-box solution for it. But I would say it's even a bit better, because you can use your out-of-the-box solution if you already have one. Let's go to the next slide. So concept-wise, we have still a one-to-one matching from client to Iser server. So every Iser client has its own rendering server. Physically, they can be on the same machine. They can be on different VMs. They can be on the same VM. Like we had running up to 4 instances on the same actual computer. But logically, it's its own process connecting to its own client. The multi-user has to happen between the servers. So how we do it, we have a multiplayer server, I call it, so that's a bit easier, but here is our multiplayer infrastructure, called here multiplayer server. And this is happening between Iser servers. The cool thing here is, if you have a HoloLens app, which has already a multi-user built in, or in general, if you have any app or any multi-user solution that runs on x86-64, you can use it. It doesn't even matter if it supports Android or HoloLens, because it just needs to do its stuff on the server. So we can use, and this is quite fun, a x64 multiplayer solution to have a multi-user app running on HoloLens, Android, and Oculus. And that's quite cool. And that's how it works. But important to understand is that it's not Iser doing your multi-user solution, but you build it in your app, you build with Iser, and then it will work. And the multi-user is between the Iser servers. And yeah, also we write here 90% of the time you can use your existing solution. Was also the case for us. Like in Ares, we even developed our own solution in the beginning, so completely only on HoloLens, and it just worked.
Yeah, so the app, the video example that you saw before is basically our own Ares solution. It's the application that is also used by BMW, if you remember the video from the beginning. And I don't know, like 1 year ago, basically this application did not run with our remote rendering solution Iser. Yeah, we were just able to load some small 3D CAD models. But with Iser now, we have really an empowered application, can visualize huge amounts of data, have it running in the cloud, streaming everything that is on there. So it's we have a more powerful solution, and that's definitely a great thing about it. Yes. And it's an example, but yeah, Philip is right. The multi-user ability was already existing before. Okay, then let's go to the next one. So we're coming closer to the end now. Just as a short spoiler, the last topic that we have is Ares Pro Cloud. We want to basically show you an example of an application that we designed, and hopefully you can get some ideas for your own projects.
Yeah, and why do we show you that? First, a question we get a lot of time in: how is this scalable? Can we scale this? Yes, you can. Easy. How is it scalable? We use the cloud, especially here we use AWS. Also linked, there is an AWS blog post which talks about the exact architecture, and also related to the blog post, there's a podcast where we also talked to some guys at AWS about how we did it, what is the exact architecture, and why we did it. So feel free to listen to it. It's quite cool, I think. But what did we actually do here? So here you see the nice shiny new UI. Unfortunately, I can only show you the older UI. But first, let me show you our web portal while I explain what it does, and then you will see how it relates to our topic today. How can I share my screen sharing is gone? Okay. Yep. Okay. So this is how it looks like. I log in here into a web portal. I want to log in Frankfurt, please, not in somewhere in the US. And now I'm in our web portal. The most important part is I have a cloud instance, and this cloud instance I can start and shut down. Notice I logged in with the username and a password. Right now we have this preloading of our cloud instance. This takes quite a while, so this will take 7 minutes if I do it. But you can start your cloud computer, and if you have 100 users, it's the cloud. You can get 100 instances. That is fine. You can also have them pre-running. Right now we are in development, so we actually start them only when we need them because they cost money. But otherwise, this is how we scale it. So you have this cloud management. I can upload files here. Here you have a few files I already uploaded I want to work with. And with this username you just saw, I can just connect. When I type that into the Ares Pro Cloud client in the HoloLens, I will just have the full experience shared with Iser running on a cloud. I don't recognize that it's a cloud. I just give in my credentials and it will just work. We had last time a meeting where like we were using it. It was really nice because everything was quiet. Like you didn't have any computers running up hot or anything, and you didn't need anything to set up because you just connect to your cloud, give in your username and password, and we even did multi-user sessions there. But about scalability, that's what I wanted to show you. Yes, this is completely scalable. Also in the blog post, and if you ask us, we completely tell you how this infrastructure works, because our core business is the streaming and not how integrated in cloud or anything. But also we don't want to force you on our cloud platform, but we can provide you with one in case you need it. And that's quite cool because this completely scales. I can set up 100 users. They can just log in there. They will be provided AWS instances where the app runs, but they don't recognize it. They just have their app experience. And actually it feels just like local. The only difference is you type in username, password, and press connect. After that, there's no difference to local. You don't have a computer running anything. You're just connected here. It's even a bit better. What you don't see in this version yet, but you can have some features of your app usable over the web portal, because some interactions, especially in HoloLens or Oculus, are quite difficult. Oculus is a bit difficult because you don't see real world, but in the HoloLens, for example, you have a tablet where this website is open, and you can do certain interactions you don't want to do with your hands in the HoloLens. But this is what I wanted to quickly show you about scalability. If you want to know more about it, you can always ask us. You need to share again. And feel free for the cloud, especially to listen to the podcast. Do you remember the name? Or can you share the link?
Yeah, we can share the link.
We share a link of the podcast later. Read through the blog post. But I think this should show that the solution is quite scalable. And actually, it's even cheaper than a lot of other solutions you have out in the market. Or, I mean, there is not that much. But yeah, it's cheaper that way because a cloud instance is cheaper than the software as a service thing of the most people, because they just hide the cloud instance from you. But they use this, they still have to use a graphic card in the cloud instance.
Yes. And I think, having said that, we are right at the end of our session. All right. Did we forget anything?
For sure.
Yeah. So, but in the end, it's the magic is actually happening behind. So there's not so much things for you to do if you want to use Iser. If you have a concept in mind, if you have a project idea that you want to realize and where you think that streaming can play an actual role in it, then feel free to reach out to us. We'll share our contact details again in Discord. You can reach us via Discord or via email. Yeah, please share your ideas, your thoughts with us, your questions. We're happy to give feedback on that. And and then maybe we see each other at the AWE event in November. We will definitely be there, the both of us. And I can, I'm looking forward to that. Do you have any questions? So that would be your chance to ask whatever you want. And if it's related to the Iser topic, you probably can answer it.
What's the meaning of life?
Okay, let's wait another 30 seconds, a minute.
It's just so
maybe
easy.
People are typing.
It's just so easy. Yeah, it was a big focus point and always will be to make it easy and simple to use.
Yeah, so simplicity is really the goal here. We want to make it easy to work with it. We want to make life easier for developers, and want to make it also easy for users. And in the end, the cool thing about streaming is, in the end, the users of the AR/VR application, they shouldn't even realize the difference, because the app experience itself is the same. It's just the difference that what they can see and it's just so much better, greater, looks more realistic, bigger content. That's the idea. And we're really breaking some performance limits of mobile devices with such a technology. So
Also hooking in there quickly, because that's something you forgot. Also for your end users of your app, it's really easy, because they only get a usual exe file, which even will ask for the Windows firewall thing. And they can double click and then press connect in their HoloLens. That's it. That's all they have to know. They don't need to set up any drivers. They don't even need admin privileges. They just have your file and they use it. And that's quite cool. That's also an advantage. We were therefore also successfully rolling it out in huge companies, which is otherwise really difficult. So you can't tell a huge company, yeah, but everybody needs to install these additional drivers, which do something shady. But we had, no, you only need to provide the app to the computers and then you can connect. And that really helped us out. And it's not only for the developer, it's especially for the end user, really easy.
Yeah, and making AR/VR apps more scalable, it's definitely also one of our goals. And that's why we try to design Iser in a way that this is possible. Okay. Then, Philip, I would say.
What about?
Okay. We have one more question. Can you?
What about geospace? So in the end, content using VPS, I think is reached near cheap. I would assume that's GPS, is that right? But in general, geospatially located content. So if you work together with us, sort of a lot of stuff is possible, because, okay, thanks, VPS. I need to see what that is. But in general, our clients, and one thing which is really an easy thing, but really important in Iser, there is a way you can send arbitrary data between client and server. You can't do that on your own. You have to need the help of us. But with this, if your client device has such a positioning system and it's not like a huge amount of data, we can manage to get it in there. And then you can use it in Iser on the server, however you want. And that's quite cool. That's also why where you have an advantage. For example, we had use cases where we had some strange custom devices connected via Bluetooth. I never saw, and they're only there for the use case. But with Iser, you can do that. And I assume also this VPS system, if your client supports it, there is a way together to build that in. But it's not something you can do out of the box right now, except on the Oculus Quest. Let's talk about it. If you need it, I think we can find a way. Iser for sure supports it. So yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, then I think we're good to go. We will have a look on the Discord channel just right after the session. So if you should get in touch with us, we'll be there. And yeah, if you should have any questions during the workshop week or even afterwards, we're happy to discuss it with you. And yeah, let's try to unleash the true potential of AR/VR and create some great experiences. I'm looking forward to test them latest at the AWE event. Okay, then thank you very much. And I would say that we close the session here. And I'll ask basically the organizational team to stop the recording, and then we're done.